Tuesday morning, Eagles fans, as we start the rest of the year during the offseason for the Philadelphia Eagles, because we are now more than 24 hours removed from the Eagles' defeat at the hands of the Kansas City Chiefs. Is the pain getting any easier for you? Sometimes it does. I'm not sure that that's the case here today. This is Birds 365. I'm Jody McDonald. John McMullen is winging his way back from the West Coast on a late night red eye flight. So in his stead today, our producer and contributor, Tone DeShields, jumps in with me. Tone, any less pain today because you're now more than 24 hours removed?
I mean, Jody, I'll admit, losing the Super Bowl is always painful, but I definitely feel a lot better about it because even though it was a loss and it was a loss they deserved, the defense did not show up. Was it a loss Jalen Hurts deserved? I don't think so. But in that loss, there were some things that I took from it. And what I took from it is, and this is how I feel, this is my humble opinion, and I stand on it. I personally believe what I learned from this game, even in the loss, Jalen Hurts is the best quarterback in the NFC, and he's a top 5 quarterback in this NFL.
If he's not top 5, he's right there. There are some other guys who have accomplished more than him. He had a top 5 year, unquestionably. He had the second best year. Mahomes was the MVP. He was the runner-up, as he should have been.
Mhm.
Does that vault him past a guy like Joe Burrow?
No.
Not sure that that's the case. Josh Allen? No.
I mean, to your point, Jody, Josh Allen has never won a conference championship, never been to a Super Bowl. Jalen Hurts has. If we're talking about accomplishments,
No, that's what we have to talk about his accomplishments. But Allen does have a couple of high-level superior years under his belt. Jalen's got one.
fair enough. That's fair.
Now, Jalen's 1 year, his team went further than Josh Allen's team ever has. You're right about that. Does that put him ahead of a guy like Josh Allen, who's got several good all-pro level type years? That's a good, fun debate.
Right.
He's certainly in the like I said, if he's not 5, he's 6. We're probably mincing words here, but you're right in that he is probably the number 1 quarterback in the NFC, and that unfortunately raises one of the ugly realities of what transpired on Sunday, because we prepared for this game, knew it was going to be the Chiefs and the Eagles for 2 weeks. And what the Eagle naysayers were saying, and it unfortunately kind of proved out to be true, the Eagles really did not face a top flight quarterback all year long. Their 17 regular season games, their 2 playoff games, the best quarterback they faced was probably Dak Prescott. And oh, by the way, Dak hung a 40 spot on him in the one game that he played against the Eagles this year. So the Eagles defense, which was number 2 overall in the NFL and number 1 against the pass, may have benefited from having played a schedule that didn't test them against the top quarterbacks. And I'll rattle off those 4 AFC names for you: Mahomes, Allen, Herbert, Burrow. Those are the top 4 guys in the AFC. And I'll tell you, and this will get some people rolling their eyes, a healthy Tua Tagovailoa, who was having a phenomenal year, but had the many different issues that he had with concussions and the like. They didn't face a healthy Tua or a Herbert or a Burrow or an Allen, and not a Mahomes until the Super Bowl. And we saw what Patrick Mahomes did in the Super Bowl. So, yeah, you're right, Tone, when you point to the defense and go, the defense was, I won't go no-show, but they were a little undressed on Super Bowl Sunday, and maybe they're not as good as we all thought they were because they were never put to a superior test until they got to the Super Bowl.
I may have to push back as far as them being a no-show, but I do agree with you. They didn't face a top-tier quarterback all year. I was talking about this on Good Morning NFC East this morning. The best quarterbacks they faced this season were Dak Prescott, and this is in no particular order, but Dak Prescott, Aaron Rodgers, Jared Goff, Kirk Cousins, Kyler Murray. You know what I mean? Those are Aaron Rodgers had a down year, but still, if you look at his numbers, pretty still good. Those numbers are good for anyone else but him. But Aaron Rodgers, the team had a down year. Dak Prescott turned the ball over tremendously all year. Was in my opinion was relatively inconsistent, especially once he got into the playoffs. But overall, I mean, how much stock am I putting into Kyler Murray at this point in his career? I'm starting to not see it with Kyler Murray. Kirk Cousins, we already know what his deal is. Prime time, he's allergic to it. Jared Goff, I think Jared Goff had a sneaky good year this year. But again, those quarterbacks don't compare to anything in the AFC, like you said. But when it comes to that defense in the playoffs, about that defense in the Super Bowl, I don't think they showed up at all, Jody. Because if you ask me, you want to know what the Philadelphia Eagles defense was? Keep Patrick Mahomes off the field. And that was the offense. So I can't really give the defense but so much credit about doing anything to limit Patrick Mahomes. It was all offense, sustaining drives, keeping him off the field. But that was just my perspective.
And, oh, by the way, you're right. Aaron Rodgers did not have a good statistical year. We still think he's a talented quarterback. John and I debate this from time to time, so I need your opinion on it. I said this many times here on Birds 365 and everywhere else I do shows. Quarterback passer rating is the worst way to decipher who is the best quarterback on any given year, except for every other one. There is no perfect way to rate or figure out who is the best quarterback. You want to go, eye test worked for me. Okay, if you believe that you're that good a football evaluator, all right, fine. But I'm trying to find a statistic you can use to base your judgment on. I think quarterback rating is the best. It's not perfect. It's imperfect for sure, but it's better than every other way we have of statistically analyzing who the best quarterbacks in a given year were.
When you say quarterback rating, are you talking about the ESPN stat or
passer rating?
Passer rating. Okay.
Passer rating.
Okay, gotcha.
So I'll run down because I don't trust ESPN with.
Neither do I.
There's some subjectivity in there, and they've proven their subjectivity, even with computer rankings. Just boggle one's mind. So here are the top rated quarterbacks in the NFL via passer rating this year. Tua Tagovailoa, they didn't play him. Patrick Mahomes, they played him. It didn't go well in the Super Bowl. Jimmy Garoppolo, they didn't play him. Jalen Hurts was fourth. Geno Smith. Oh, that would have been nice if they had gotten tested by Geno during the year. They didn't play Geno Smith. Joe Burrow. Jared Goff, they did play, as you mentioned, had a good, sneaky, under-the-radar type year. 35 against the Eagles? Did he put up a 30? What was the score of the Eagles-Lions first week of the season?
That score was 38-35. You're absolutely correct.
So they didn't quite shut Jared Goff down in the one game they played against him. Josh Allen, they didn't play. Andy Dalton, believe it or not, was number 9. And Andy Dalton stuck one of the very few losses the Eagles had this year on them. Trevor Lawrence, they did beat. He was number 11. Justin Herbert, 12. Daniel Jones, 13. Kirk Cousins, 14. Dak Prescott, 15. There's where the Eagles' schedule lies. 13, Daniel Jones. 14, Kirk Cousins. 15, Dak Prescott. They played all those guys and they beat Daniel Jones 3 times or twice because he did sit the one game, the last one in the regular season. But of the top 10, they didn't face anybody until we got to the Super Bowl and Patrick Mahomes was sitting there. And, by the way, Patrick Mahomes, I got into a debate on WIP last night with a guy who was ready to anoint Patrick Mahomes and make him the face of the NFL, which he is, which he was before that game was played. And if the game goes the other way and the Eagles win 38-35, guess what? Patrick Mahomes is still the face of the National Football League now with Tom Brady walking away. I don't believe what he did, although he got the MVP award, because I guess a quarterback has to get it, and Jalen Hurts didn't win. Jalen Hurts was the best quarterback on the field on Sunday night, but Patrick Mahomes won the game, so that's why he got the MVP. I don't think that was the game that put him over the top and made him the face of the National Football League. He was already there. You knew Brady was walking away. The torch had already been passed to Patrick Mahomes. It wasn't passed because of what he did on Sunday night. He was Mahomes-like through a very high completion percentage. But, Tone, You could have thrown 2 of those touchdown passes inside the 5-yard line with the defensive breakdowns that the Eagles had. So am I going to put in just this one particular game Patrick Mahomes on this pedestal because he was that great? No, he threw for under 200 yards and he threw 2 touchdown passes out of the 3 he had that you or I could have thrown.
I actually believe this was his easiest Super Bowl win because of the fact that he only had to play 28 minutes worth of football, and they were extremely efficient. Like you said, 2 of those touchdowns, wide open. And let's be frank about this. He was gifted 7 points because of the turnover by Jalen Hurts, and then special teams got them down to the 5-yard line. So he really didn't have to do more than what was necessary, and I respect that. He was efficient. They took advantage of every minute of those 28 minutes they had. 38 points in 28 minutes. I got to respect the game, Jody. They were efficient. But like you said, you could have threw that ball, some of those passes. I could have thrown some of those passes. And that's why I feel like the defense, they just completely imploded. They looked confused. They looked flabbergasted. But like you said, I think the passer rating is a good barometer, at least right now, because like you said, unless you're just some football guru and you understand mechanics that well, I think passer rating is pretty fair. And you're right, the Eagles they weren't tested all year. They weren't really tested from a quarterback perspective. Did they come across some good defenses? Sure, yeah. But they weren't offensive scoring wasn't the issue. The offense had no problem scoring. You can make an argument, well, maybe the Eagles just ran out of time in that game, because I felt like they were coming. But we can't, play revisionist history. The bottom line is they lost the game, and the Eagles defense, they're going to look a lot different coming from this season going into the next.
Yeah, I never buy into they ran out of time line of logic, because everyone knew it was going to be 60 minutes before it started, right, Tom? They don't change it for the Super Bowl. They don't extend it. They don't cut it. Oh, Rihanna's going to go 34 minutes with her performance, so we got to shorten the game. No, 60 minutes. They're all 60 minutes. So it's 60 minutes, and you must play and coach and get done what you have to get done accordingly. So I just never buy into, they ran out of time. Not enough time. If there had been, there's never another 2 minutes added. They don't do that unless, of course, it goes to overtime, which, I was rooting so bad for, because I had a couple of prop bets, including Jalen Hurts over 50.5 yards, which I felt very strongly about, even tweeted that out before the game started. I went further. I had him over 75 yards at added value. I had him over 100. I put a couple shekels down on Jalen running over 100, and he stalled out at 70. I needed overtime for a couple more Jalen Hurts runs, and that the best run, maybe the best run he had all game, doesn't even count. You don't get credit yards-wise for a 2-point conversion. So that still would have only gotten him to 72, and I needed to
Should they start doing that, Jody? Should they start counting those in the conversions, the yards? I'm curious. I've never thought about it until now.
It's legit. It's a legit question. Maybe it's a separate category. There's so many stupid statistics, depending on what website you go to, whatever you want to use as your research tool. Why can't you add what you do on a 2-point conversion? We all know it. It's in the box score, but it's not in the other running stats pages where you go and look. It was a truly heroic effort to drag 2 tacklers into the end zone, and all it shows up on the box score is 2-point conversion, which, by the way, I don't, Tone, I know you well enough down the line, but you and I don't know each other away from our show here on Birds 365. Are you a gambling guy?
Nah, not really. I've tried.
I didn't think so.
It's not really my thing. My brother is, though. He's always texting me, "Hey, did you hear anything about so and so?" I'm like, "Look, I don't work for the NFL."
Wants a little inside information. Good on him. I appreciate the effort. He's trying to get good.
I ain't mad at it. I'm not mad at it.
Exactly. I had never heard of this before. That exchanging texts with my daughter, who, yes, likes to bet on football. She's got an account, and she's actually pretty good at it. She's well out of the game from when she started a couple of years ago. She told me she hit an octopus. Had you ever heard that before?
Never.
I'd never heard it before. I asked her,
was that an 8-leg parlay?
Not an 8-leg, but you're right. You're playing in the right direction. 8. It's for 8 points scored. if a player scores a touchdown and then also is the guy who scores on the 2-point conversion immediately thereafter, it's called an octopus. And I had never heard that before. My daughter tells me to exchanging texts. I used my $5 free bet on an octopus and I hit for $70. So it was 13-1 that an octopus would happen in the game. And that's exactly what Jalen Hurts did. He scored the touchdown and then he got the 2-point conversion thereafter. The first ever octopus in the Super Bowl since they re-added 2-point conversions years ago. Jalen's the first one to ever do it. I'd never even heard of it, let alone know that you could bet on it in the Super Bowl. I don't think I would have anyway. But my daughter didn't. Sure enough, she hit it. And that's why she ended up making money on the Super Bowl that day, because she hit Jalen Hurts' octopus. But you live and learn, even at my age, watching my 50. I was alive for the first two AFL NFL championship games. They didn't call it the Super Bowl until the third Super Bowl. But I was just a wee lad, and I honestly, all apologies to you Packer fans out there, I don't remember the Packers beating the Chiefs or the Raiders the first two. I do remember the Jets against the Colts in Super Bowl III, which was actually Super Bowl I. It was the first time they ever called it the Super Bowl, but they went back and in past sequence renamed the first two championship games.
Really quickly, Joe, I got a question for her, but I know this is the Eagles show, but for the next 30 seconds, I need this to be Jets 365.
Sure.
Me personally, I think the way the Jets are looking right now, from a personnel standpoint, I think they're a quarterback away from challenging the Bills. What do you think about that?
I see Vegas has come out with betting lines, where you rank, power ratings. I just saw ESPN's. I stopped at the first couple because the Eagles going into next year, Chiefs are number 1, Eagles are number 2, as they should be. Cowboys were number 6. I was interested to see where they were. See, this is why ESPN is kind of off the charts for me. Dallas was ahead of San Francisco all year long, even after San Francisco beat Dallas in the playoffs. In their computer rankings, they still had Dallas ahead of San Francisco. How does that make any sense whatsoever? So I just checked their power rankings going forward for next year. And I go, Dallas will be ahead of San Francisco. They're not. San Francisco is 3. They're right behind Eagles, and the Cowboys came in at number 6.
Inconsistent.
I got to check and see where the Jets are. I saw a couple gambling outlets yesterday listing the prices if you want to bet them to win the championship. Jets are like 12th overall in football, which is borderline top 3. They haven't been above 500 in a dog's age.
That's
so at least the gambling outlets out there believe Jets are going to get a quarterback. Maybe it's Aaron Rodgers. And if they do, all of a sudden they're competitive next year. The AFC East will be as hard a division as there is in football next year if they go out and get themselves a quarterback. Of course, cross my fingers that that's the case. I'll tell you one thing for sure. No, it's not Zach Wilson. That's something Eagle fans don't have to worry a little bit, because they've got their Jalen Hurts to go forward with. All right, we're going forward here on Birds 365. Tony DeShields in for Johnny Mac today. We got a pair of GMs joining us. And when I say GMs, I'm not talking general managers. Howie Roseman is not going to be on the show today. We've never been able to wrangle Howie. Don't hold your breath waiting for Howie to show up here on Birds 365. But you know who is going to show up? That would be one Jeff Mosher. He's going to join us coming up in the next 5 minutes inside the Birds, both podcast and website. And then a little bit later, we'll go national on you, old school on you. Gary Myers, one of the best NFL writers, reporters, Hall of Fame selector. He's going to join us in hour number 2. But up next, the man, Moshe, is going to join us.